and welcome back to the Regimentals YouTube channel. Today I'm dressed fairly smartly because we just had a customer come to visit us. He was in the UK over here from the US and he collects Afrikakorps stuff. So what I did was I got all of my Afrikakorps stock out and I put it on display for him to see, and that just gave me the idea that why don't I just shoot a YouTube video and just focus on some of the Afrikakorps items that we have in stock, really just to give you guys a visual picture of some of the nice tropical items that we have for sale at the moment. So I'm just going to run around a few of these pieces, pointing out what they are, tell you roughly how much they are. Hopefully someone will pick up some information to help educate them slightly on what the tropical stuff is. So I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so this front row here, to me, they're my favourite Afrikakorps caps. I'm just going to run through what they are. This is the lemon yellow piping on like a mustard coloured cap. So this is a signals cap, but it's first pattern. It has no sweatband inside and it's dated 1942. So it's towards the tail end of the Afrikakorps campaign, where the true Army Afrikakorps were there in 1942, but it's an untouched cap. Really nice. Frankenstein is the maker, but really nice example. Then this one next to it here, this is possibly my favourite. This is a Panzer. It's pink soutache, completely untouched insignia. Yeah, it's a rare maker. It's the Eric Bergman is the maker, 1941. And this one is going to be featured in Afrikakorps Volume 2. I've already created the artwork for the page. We're just waiting to drop the text in, but this one is going to be in the book. That one, I think it's on the website for about $750 or something like that, but that's really the top of the tree when it comes to Afrikakorps caps. This here is reconnaissance. It's the copper brown soutache, and what's really interesting is there's lots of wear, and I've just managed to find for the new book Volume 2 loads of pictures of reconnaissance guys wearing their caps, and they all look like this, really stained and dirty. The maker on this cap, it's a Lubstein, Robert Lubstein, 1941, but just a classic example. Lovely untouched insignia as well. That's one of my favourites. The next one along, this is the field upgraded officers. Artillery soutache, but it's got the field officers piping, and of course he's changed his insignia from the tropical insignia to the officers insignia. And the same for this one, mountain troops soutache. Now mountain troops green, but don't forget that could be mountain troops, but it could also be what's known as rifle regiment, which was the very early Panzer Grenadiers. Again, he's taken off his Bevo insignia and changed it to the officers European insignia. And then lastly is this lovely bleached bone white Pioneer. This is Largo 1940, so it's a very early cap. It's got the classic Largo insignia format. It's lost one of its air vents on this side, but a really nice stone white bleached bone white version of the Afrikakorps cap. So in this second row and beyond, these are still great caps, and they're great purchases for someone who's just getting into Afrikakorps, who wants a first pattern cap, because they're not as expensive as the ones here at the front, but they're still really good examples. We have the reconnaissance one here, similar to the reconnaissance at the front, copper brown insignia, but it's not as worn, so therefore the price is down. We have the artillery here, which is made up of different types of material. When they were making these caps, sometimes the peak was made out of one material and the body of the cap was made out of a different type of material. Then we have here a rare one, which is smoke troops, Nebelwerfer. It's the crimson insignia, very rare. And then this one here is the chaplains. Now that's a rare cap, but the condition of it doesn't speak to me because it's quite new, so it's someone who likes minty stuff, but it's got the chaplain's cross on the front. Here we have a Pioneer, very worn. The peak is almost coming away from the cap, but it's got the black Pioneer or Engineer's soutache. And then right at the very end is this very worn Panzer soutache. It's very worn. The peak is being repaired in many places. This is one of my favourites. This is the first cap that I actually owned, maybe 30 years ago. Field upgrade to officer, but it is a second pattern cap. It's got a sweatband inside, so it would be more 1943, maybe late 42, but it's 43 really. But what I like about it is that it's bleached bone white. These here are first pattern caps. but they've had their soutache removed. This one you can see the remains of the black Engineers, Pioneers soutache, where the soutache was removed. As per regulations, I think it was February 42, they were given the order to remove all soutaches, but as we know, many of the soldiers didn't follow the order, and they kept their soutaches on. This one here is an interesting cap, again bleached almost white, soutache removed, but it is a first pattern. But just to remind the viewers, in case you've not watched my previous videos, the zigzag machine insignia, if the cockade, the roundel and the eagle are both zigzag machine sewn, that means it's very likely going to be by the maker Carl Halfer. So that is a Carl Halfer, I think it's 41 dated. Going to the back row here, just the Afrikakorps steel helmet. This is the third pattern pith helmet. The third pattern one was the fuzzy felt version. Now these were always considered the cheapest of the cheap years ago. If you couldn't afford to buy an Afrikakorps cap or helmet, you would buy one of these, but even these now are going up in price. I mean, this one is $425. I remember when these were £75. So they've really shot up in price. Here we have an array of overseas caps, all different colours: blue, cornflower blue for transport, a few panzer pink ones, the very rare white soutache, that's known as artillery flak regiment, army flak regiment, a very rare unit during the Africa campaign. That one to me looks like it is smoke troops, and this one here is a very late war one with no soutache on it at all. Then here we have an array of buckles. We have 3 officers and 1 enlisted man's. Just pointing out for you the very dark green webbing on this officer's one means it was early 1940. The tan colour changed and became more standard tan webbing in 1941 and 42. So here's a mismatch of stuff, just some SS Tropical shorts at the bottom there, 4 really nice Kriegsmarine Tropical caps. Interestingly, this one has a soutache on it. Now, Kriegsmarine caps generally didn't have soutaches, but there was no rule saying that they couldn't add one themselves. So for some reason, this soutache here has been put onto this cap. There's always an argument to say that an uneducated collector has put that on there to try and make his cap into a Afrikakorps soutache cap. But of course, we know that Kriegsmarine didn't have soutaches on their caps. So this is what we call an anomaly. This is your standard enlisted man's Kriegsmarine. This is an officer's with silver piping, and then of course the alternative officers with the yellow piping. Both officers are completely 100% original. They just had 2 different types. They had the yellow piping and they had the silver piping. I really do not know why they had those 2 different colours, but in volume 3 of Afrikakorps we might be able to explain to you why. Couple of pairs of boots here. We have the short ankle boots and then the high ankle boots. What's interesting about these boots is that they are a pair that's been always worn together. However, the canvas material on them is different. What happened in the desert is they just threw a pile of boots on the floor, and they would leave the soldiers to go up and collect 2 boots that fitted them. So let's say you were a size 8, you would go in the pile and you'd find 2 size 8s, a left one and a right one. But they didn't really worry that the material that they were made with was different. So this is what's called a mismatched pair, but always worn as a pair. And you can tell by the condition of the soles and the bottoms of the shoes, they're in identical condition. So they've always been worn together. To me, that's a really interesting part of history. So I'm not going to go into too much detail with this stuff because this is second pattern. Okay, it's Afrikakorps caps with the sweatband inside, obviously no soutache, and these are all second pattern tunics, which means they don't have pleats on the pockets. Moving across, you can see here no pleats, and then here on the first patterns there's always pleats on the pockets. Now of course, for the advanced collectors, I also can tell you that the eagle changed. The first pattern eagle here is kind of like a chalky pastel-y colour, whereas the second pattern eagle on these caps is much flatter, it's less embossed, and it's more of a blue-grey on the eagle. Moving across here with this lovely bleached shirt, I really love that. And then here we have 2 extremely rare greatcoats. They're both Panzer Grenadier NCOs. The condition of one is better than the other, but you know, this is like a £4,000 or £5,000 item, really rare. And then moving over to this side, a couple of pieces of Luftwaffe Tropical. I always collected Army, but just in recent years I've become more interested in the Luftwaffe in Africa. And working with David on the books, I've seen so many period photographs of the crossover of Army guys wearing Luftwaffe stuff and Luftwaffe guys wearing Army stuff. It makes me realise how involved the Luftwaffe were in Africa. Here is the early Tropheim. We have a nice Luftwaffe belt here, some field caps, some overseas caps, and this really nice stained Luftwaffe tunic. This is a really nice piece. I'm desperate to get a pair of shoulder boards for this tunic, but that to me is a really nice piece. So that's the video. Just wanted to focus on all this Afrikakorps and tropical stuff while I had it all out on display. I really hope you've enjoyed the video, and please, if you have any questions, just put it in the comments or send me a message, send me an email. I'm happy to elaborate more if you saw something in particular that you wanted to maybe purchase for your collection.